Amen. He was teaching it up last week, and we're going to continue a little two-part series on the generosity of God and the greatest gift that we've all received, the gift of salvation. There's so much more in our salvation than I think we are aware of. In Ephesians 2, verse 8, I'm going to throw it on the screens for us. It says, "For by grace you have been saved through faith, through your belief. You believe in God, not of yourself. It is a gift of God, not of works, lest any wish to boast. By grace, through faith, you have been saved." It is a gift. This gift that we've received called salvation, best gift you've ever received. I know I'm just getting through this season, but I think hopefully a few of you parents can relate. Have you ever had a kid that you got a gift for over Christmas and the kid ended up playing with the box more than the toy? And you're like, "Hey, bud, look at this great toy that I got you. Like, let's play with the toy. This is what I spent all the money on. Like, all my monies went to this, not the box. I could have gone to FedEx and got you a box if that's all you wanted." And it's just playing with the box, loving the box, climbing in the box, out of the box, carrying the box around, forget about the toy. I think many Christians today, maybe not entirely on ourselves, maybe we've been mistaught, miscommunicated, maybe we haven't fully understood or been really preached about what the fullness of our salvation is. But too many of us today, too many Christians are carrying around the box. We're playing with the box, but we've never gotten fully into all of what salvation brought us. If I were to have you open your church app today and take a survey on what salvation is, I would be nervous that some of us would say salvation is it's the way to get to heaven. I would be nervous that many of us would say, yeah, it's how you get to heaven. It's how you're saved, and so that when you die, you go to heaven. But many of us Christians, we live that way, that salvation really is just a one-way ticket, so that when I die, I get to go to heaven. And now don't hear what I'm not saying. That is amazing. That's a huge deal. We should celebrate the fact that there will be a day where we go to heaven and spend the rest of eternity with Jesus. That is unbelievable. And if that was all it was, that would be a pretty amazing gift. Problem is, that's not all it is. But some of us are minimizing the gift that Jesus gave us, the gift that cost him coming from heaven to earth, the gift that cost him laying in a manger and growing up as a man and then living a perfect life and dying the death that we should have died. He did all of that so we could receive salvation, and he did all of it not just so that we could get a one-way ticket to heaven, but so that we could bring heaven here to earth. Let me say that again for a couple of us. Salvation isn't just you getting to heaven one day. It's the ability, or could I even say the mandate or responsibility for us to bring heaven to earth today. See, this is what's in your salvation. Last week, my dad taught on 4 of them. Today, I'm going to teach on the other 4. But the word salvation is an inclusive word. And when you do a word study on it, you realize that in my salvation, it signifies forgiveness, healing, prosperity, deliverance, safety, rescue, liberation, and restoration. You see, there's a lot more in my salvation than just a ticket one way to heaven. Let me ask this: what in my salvation am I saving for heaven? How many of you are going to need to use healing in heaven? Hopefully none. Hopefully none of us. How many of you need to, I could just really use some safety when I get to heaven. You don't need safety in heaven. You need some liberation in heaven? A little prosperity in heaven? No, I need prosperity now on this side of eternity. I think I'm gonna be good on that side. I think I'll be okay when I get there. I don't need to wait to use healing till I get there. I want it here now. I want to bring heaven to earth. Thy kingdom come, thy will be done on earth as it is in heaven. See, Jesus was like, I want you to live out this life and show off the kingdom to those around you. And too many of us are just walking around with our salvation like a box. Like, look at my box. Look at how cool this is. And I was like, have you opened it? Like, no, this is all it is. It's just a box. It's just a one-way ticket. I'm saved. Look at me. So as an awesome Christian, I'm going to heaven one day. You're like, it's not very attractive though. Kind of judgmental. You're always sick. Kind of broke, bro. Yeah, but I'm saved. Look at my box. I'm like, but we're missing it. There's more in our salvation. Stop carrying it around as a ticket to show off and use it as a life that empowers you to live the life God called you to live. There's more in your salvation. Let's grow up. Let's stop being Christian toddlers that play with the box and miss the gift. God has given you more than you realize. In Matthew 18:23, we're gonna start with the first of the four things today in our box of salvation. It says, therefore the kingdom of heaven is like a certain king who wanted to settle accounts with his servants. And when he had begun to settle accounts, one was brought to him who owed him 10,000 talents. Pause there. 10,000 talents, they believe, was the highest monetary value that Jesus could use at that time. It was astronomical. In essence, view it as if he said $1 trillion. It was the highest amount that they could write. So it's the biggest number for money they had at the time. So a servant somehow owes a king $1 trillion. But he was not able to pay. His master commanded that he be sold with his wife and children, and that all he had, that payment be made. The servant therefore fell down before him, saying, Master, have patience with me, and I will repay you all. What? He clearly has no understanding or concept of truly the debt that he's carrying. What servant is gonna pay $1 trillion? If he was the richest person in the world, he still couldn't cover that debt. The richest person in the world couldn't pay the debt that he had accrued. That's just how lost he was on, and I think we can relate to that. Sometimes I think we look at Jesus and we forget just how much he forgave us. Then the master of that servant was moved with compassion, released him, and forgave him the debt. But that servant went out and found one of his fellow servants who owed him 100 denarii. Now, if you put that into common terms today, that'd be roughly $20,000 around. And he laid hands on him and took him by the throat, saying, pay me what you owe. So his fellow servant fell down at his feet and begged him, saying, have patience with me, and I will pay you all. And he would not, but went and threw him into prison until he should pay his debt. So when his fellow servants saw what had been done, they were grieved and came and told their master all that had been done. Then the master, after he had called him, said to him, you wicked servant, I forgave you all that debt because you begged me. Should you not also have had compassion on your fellow servant, just as I had pity on you? And his master was angry and delivered him to the torturers until he should pay all that was due him. Another translation said he cast him into outer darkness. The first thing today in your salvation is forgiveness. Forgiveness. When we received our salvation, which was a gift, remember, so this is a gift. By grace through faith, we have been given the gift of salvation. And when Jesus saved you, he forgave you. He cleared your debts like that king. He didn't say, okay, because you fell down and begged me, because I'm forgiving you, you only owe me half. Okay, you'll pay me later. Okay, no, he just forgave it. The whole thing was wiped clean. And when you got saved, Jesus looked at you and said, you are forgiven of all of your debts. Everything, your past, your failures, your mistakes, your shortcomings. Get this for a minute. Jesus forgave you of what you have done and what you're going to do. Could you imagine forgiving someone of something you know they're gonna do? I couldn't imagine being a dad. If I knew my kids were gonna mess up in a few years, I'd spank them today. Willow's like, what's going on? Like, in 3 years, I'm just gonna get it today. Forgiving someone today, knowing they're gonna hurt your heart in 3 years, knowing they're gonna lie about you in 4 years, knowing they're gonna. Jesus, he forgave you. That forgiveness, it means that everything has been cleaned. The deck was clean. The past was clean. Like the debt that you owed was completely washed, completely wiped out. Your failures, your mistakes, your shortcomings, your lie, like that is wild to me. That everything that, man, all of my sin, all of my stuff, all of my failures, Jesus says, I've forgiven. I'm covering it all. I'm washing it clean. But here's the part that I want us to catch today. See, and don't get mad at me because I'm just the messenger. I'm just reading this parable that Jesus told us to read together. When Jesus forgave me, he expects me to forgive you. He expects me now to forgive you. Now, here's the part that's gonna hurt. If you don't forgive others, and by others, I mean every single person ever, he's gonna take this back. Yeah, but you don't know what they did to me. Apparently, that's not as big of a deal as what he's done for you. But they abused me, and it's worse than what you had to go through. I'm not trying to compare, and I probably agree with you. If you started telling me your story, it would break my heart. I'd cry with you. I might go fight that person with you. Let's get them together. What they did was wrong. Their abuse was wrong. Their lies were wrong. Their deceit. Like, I agree. But the problem is, if you can't forgive others, you're focused too much on them and not enough on Jesus. Because you're still putting all of the power on what they did and not on the forgiveness that gives you freedom. See, when you forgive someone, it doesn't mean that you say what you did was right or I'm okay with what you did. It doesn't mean I'll let you back into my life. We're reconciled. No. It simply means I'm releasing myself of what you did to me. I'm free. I'm forgiving you. I'm releasing the debt. Now it's up to you and God, but between us, it's gone. Now think about it. That second servant owed the first servant roughly $20,000+. That's a big debt. That's a big debt. Like, if anyone in here can just throw 20 grand away, hit me up on that legacy offering. You know what I'm talking about? Let's get some campuses going around here. Let's build, you will help us build real quick. It was that the second person that had to be forgiven was still forgiven of something significant. And that it was pennies in light of what the first one was forgiven of. And many of us, we are way too focused on how our parent hurt us, how that ex-spouse hurt me, how that coworker hurt me, how that friend left me, how that my family abused me. Like, we're so focused on what they did wrong to us that we've forgotten to look to Jesus as what he's already forgiven me of. But when we realize that Jesus forgave me, and because he forgave me, I now have the ability to forgive you. See, he gave me what I need. It's not like he's asking me to do something he hasn't already done. He forgave me and empowered me to have the means, the ability, the forgiveness I need to extend to others now. He's not asking for me to do something he hasn't already done himself. And too many of us, we are so focused on our pains and our hurts and our wrongs and our entitlements. And Jesus is clearly telling us, you've received forgiveness, now you must give forgiveness. Forgiveness is in your box of salvation. You've been forgiven. And when I live my life more focused on Jesus than my hurts, more focused on Jesus than my past, more focused on Jesus than my failures, more focused on Jesus than my scars, when I live my life more focused on Jesus, it allows me, or can I say it frees me to forgive others. If you struggle with forgiving others, maybe you should focus more on Jesus forgiving you than you are focused on them hurting you. You got to look more at Jesus. What else does Jesus do? In your salvation, there's healing. Now, this isn't healing, like you weren't like, I'm not talking about like a cold or a headache. I'm not like, yeah, you got saved one day and all of a sudden your cold was gone. You confess Jesus and no longer have a headache. Now Jesus is a healer, and he does say, like, by his stripes we are healed, and to lay hands on the sick and they will recover. And he went from town to town healing all the sick and the oppressed. Like, Jesus brings healings to our body, but that's not what this is. See, in your salvation, there's a deeper healing. Because what really needs to get healed, it's not your headache and it's not your cold, it's your heart. See, it's the inner parts of you. It's the depths of you. Because all of us, regardless of your background, regardless if you had a good family or a bad family, whether you had means or no means, if you lived in this country, no matter where you're from, when all of us get to Jesus, we all get their hurt. We all have scars. We all have stories. We all have failures. We all have struggles. Not one person has made it to Jesus untouched from life, unscathed, unwounded. And the reason is because whether you had a good family or not, great parents or not, had a good upbringing or not, you're still attempting to live a life and define who you are without knowing the Creator who designed you. And you're trying to find your place, you're trying to find your identity, you're trying to find your purpose. And all of us do so many things to live a life that feels like we matter and feels like we have a reason for existing. But if you don't know God, there's never gonna be enough that tells you why you exist. And so we listen to stupid things like, I'm from a monkey. That's probably where I came from. That's my purpose. And I'll feel like I have meaning if I have enough money. And this is my group, and this is my in crowd, and if this person wins, and if that person's voted, if that person helped, all of a sudden I'll feel like life is good. And then that person leaves office, and this thing happens, and the economy goes down, and it's your heart. It's the brokenness in your heart. In Matthew 15:19, it says, for out of the heart produce evil thoughts, murder, adultery, fornication, theft, false witness, lying, blasphemy. Out of your heart. Have you ever realized that you don't have to teach a 2-year-old to be greedy? Just mine. Look, you didn't teach a 2-year-old that. You don't have to, it just comes out of the heart. Just flows so natural. You ever realize like how you don't never teach a little kid to lie. They do it. My little man, he loves stealing my greens in the morning. I mean, like a greens drink every morning. And he'll crush it. And I'll be like, hey, Levi, did you drink my greens? And he's got a big old green mustache. I'm like, nope. I'm like, you have a green mustache, bro? He's like, no, I don't. I'm like, we could see. Have you ever caught your kids like, did you eat the candy? Did you eat the chocolate? Because there's chocolate all over your face. Nope, didn't eat the chocolate. I'm like, you're gonna lie about this? I can see it on your face. Like there's zero way you're gonna hide this from me. Or your kids be wrestling. Yeah, I hear wrestling in the basement, run down, Nora starts crying. Levi hit me. He's like, I didn't hit her. I'm like, are you sure? He's like, she hit herself. I'm like, really? She hit herself? I didn't hit her, Dad. Who did? I don't know. It's not me. I think it was Willow. Like, Willow's not here. Willow's at grandma's. Willow came home, hit her, went back. Did you ask Mom? Did you see if Mom hit her? I'm like, are you kidding, Levi? We know it was you. It wasn't me, Dad. How is it so in there? How is it so in our hearts? Because out of the heart, false witness, lies, blasphemy, greed. It's just already there. It's just already there. But catch this. This is what Jesus does. In Ephesians 3:17, it says that Christ may dwell in your hearts through faith. So if it's faith that got me saved, then it's the same faith that gets Jesus in my heart. He came to heal my heart, to push out that natural lie, to push out the natural greed, to push out the natural lust, to push out the natural anger. See, he didn't just come, he didn't just die on a cross, he didn't give me salvation just so that I wouldn't have a cold. He came and healed my heart so that I could be complete, so I could be whole. So I could stop looking to relationships to complete me. So I could stop looking to my job to make me feel like I'm successful, to make me stop looking to addictions to fill the hole. No, he came to heal what was broken. And too many of us today are still living our lives with broken hearts, and we're looking to everything else to fill a need that he has tried to meet already. How many of our prayers today are asking for things he's already given? How many of us are praying for things that Jesus has already given you? Man, Jesus, just give me healing, give me direction, give me identity, give me purpose. You're looking for purpose at work, and you're looking for purpose as you raise your kids, and you're looking for purpose in your profession, and God is like, I'm trying to heal your heart so that you could find your purpose in me. Parents, have you ever feel like you've answered the same question 100 times at home? I've already said that. Could you imagine God answering the same question but multiply it by all of earth? Sometimes I could just see him in heaven being like, are they serious, Jesus? It's in their salvation. They already have it. I can't give it because I already gave it. I already gave what they had. Like they have it. Hey, band, come on the stage. Help me play out of here. There's healing. Healing for your heart. The Bible says, I will not leave you orphans. Why does it say that if some of us have parents? Most of us have parents. Most of us have two parents. Some of us have one. But you're not an orphan. Why does the Bible say, I won't leave you orphans? Because he knows until we find our Father in heaven, we will develop a calloused heart like an orphan's child that doesn't know where our home is, that doesn't know where we belong, that doesn't have that comfort, that peace, that security, the safety that you only find in your Father's arms. So Jesus says, I won't leave you orphans because I'm coming for you. I'm bringing healing to your heart. How many of us as Christians still live with an orphan's heart? Still live lost, still live hurt, still live more defined by our failures than our potential, still live more defined by our past than what Jesus has in our future. How many of us still identify more by our hurts and our scars than from our salvation? The other gift is safety. There's safety in your salvation. There's safety. You're safe with God. He won't leave you. He won't forsake you. He's with you. He's for you. There's safety in him. There's a story in the New Testament where Jesus is in the boat. He had a full day of ministry and teaching and healing, and he gets in the boat to go to the other side. And in the middle of the sea, a storm comes, and the waves and the winds are just tossing the boat. and the disciples are getting scareder and scareder, and they're shouting at Jesus, thinking they're gonna die. Side note, Jesus must have been a world-class napper. Like an Olympian at napping. Because we're not talking about a yacht or like a cruise ship. We're talking about a little fishing boat. I can't imagine that water wasn't just smacking him in the face if it's a real storm. Just coming over the boat, tossing him everywhere, and he's just out. Finally, the disciples wake him up. Jesus, don't you care? Can't you see the storm? Can't you see what I'm going through? Can't you see what I'm facing? Can't you see the sickness? Can't you see the cancer report? Can't you see the counseling in my marriage? Can't you see the foreclosure? Can't you see that my child is sick? Can't you see what we're facing? Don't you care? I know it's not very Christian of me to say, but I'm sure a few of us have said that to Jesus. Don't you care? Can you not see what I'm going through? Can you not see the storm? Can you not see the crisis? And you feel like there's no safety. You feel it. The walls are closing in on me. The bills are closing in on me. The sickness is closing in on me. The divorce is imminent. The disaster is coming. And they wake Jesus up, and he speaks to the wind and the waves. He goes, silence, be still. And then he turns to them and he says, where is your faith? Where's your faith? Remember what you got by your faith? You got the gift of salvation. So you already got what you need for the storm. You see, our safety from our salvation doesn't mean that there will never be a storm. What it means is that there's someone more powerful than the storm in my boat. Oh, I'm gonna say that again for someone. Being a Christian, following Jesus, being a Jesus person, it does not mean that there will never be a storm in your future. What it means is that there's someone more powerful than the storm in your boat. So you can feel safe. You can know that no matter how big these waves get, I'm not letting go. No matter how big these doctors' bills get, no matter how scared we get of this report, no matter how serious this gets, no matter how tragic it is, no matter how life-threatening it is, Jesus is in my boat. See, there was 3 Israel boys that found themselves in a fiery furnace. But it says that Jesus got in the fire with them. And I read the story of how Daniel was put in the lion's den, but Jesus was in there shutting the lions' mouths. And I've read in the Bible that it says that David went before Goliath and says, this is not my battle or your battle, this is the Lord's battle. And I know that Jonah was stuck in the belly of a fish for 3 days, but Jesus somehow found him there and met him there. You see, story after story after story after story after story that they had to go through the storm. Paul had to hold on to the board and float to shore. David still had to sling that slingshot and kill Goliath. The boys still had to get in that fire. Daniel was still put in the lion's den. But even though a storm came, I had safety through the whole thing. See, being a Christian doesn't mean that in the storm, it means Jesus left you. And it doesn't mean that Jesus didn't hear your prayers. And it doesn't mean that Jesus doesn't love you. And it doesn't mean that he's not with you. When I see a storm, it reminds me that I need Jesus. Not that Jesus left me. See, too many of us have allowed the devil to convince us, to lie to us. The same way he lied to Eve in the garden. Is that truly what God would do? Would God really make you go through that storm? Would God really send that issue? Would God really do, is that really God? Is that really God? Is that really God? No, no, no. You need to tell that liar to shut his mouth and say, Jesus is in my boat. So I don't care how big these waves get, Jesus is in the boat. I don't care how big the storm gets, Jesus is in my boat. I don't care how big that lion is, Jesus is gonna shut his mouth. I don't care how big that giant is, Jesus is gonna fight my battles. I don't care how long I'm in this fish's belly, I'm in the presence of God, and so I'm safe with Him. Whatever you're going through, whatever you're fighting through, whatever you're overcoming, there's safety with Jesus. Last point before we get out of here today is there's rescue. He rescued you. He rescued you. He came for you. He came for you. In Matthew 18, verse 12, they'll throw it on the screens for us. It says, if a man had 100 sheep and one of them goes astray, does he not leave the 99 and go to the mountains to seek the one that is strayed? And if he should find it, assuredly I say to you, he rejoices more over that sheep than over the 99 that did not go astray. Even so, it is not the will of your Father who is in heaven that one of these little ones should perish. Jesus left the 99 and came for you. He rescued you. He saved you. He fought for you. That's our heart. As a church, that's what we believe. To go after the one. That's why I get so stirred up sometimes when people are like, oh, it's that mega church. It's just too big. No, it's not. It's not that big at all, actually. Because there's still ones out there that need to be reached for Jesus. And until there isn't a single person left in the state that doesn't know Jesus, there is still one to go after. Let me say it this way. If there was 100 people in a building in Seattle and it was on fire, how many people would you want us to get out of it? I mean, 100 is a lot, y'all. That's a pretty high percentage. Would 80 be okay? 80%? Okay, what about 90%? That's pretty good. Oh, y'all greedy. Y'all want all 100. Well, there's still hundreds that are going to hell. This is real. And Jesus came to rescue them. And we got to get them out of that burning building. So this isn't big enough. And at 20 campuses, it's not big enough. And at 30 campuses, it won't be big enough. And it won't be big enough until everyone is reached and finds a home and healing and forgiveness in Jesus. I love that verse says that. It says the shepherd will celebrate the one even more than the 99. You see, I could just see Jesus in heaven when he got you, when he reached you, when you came to him and he's celebrating in heaven. He's like, Dad, we got him. I was chasing him for years and he was hurt and he was broken. He thought he was so tough and he was so wounded and he wouldn't let anyone help him. He wouldn't let anyone love him, but I finally got him. I got the one back. I got him. And I can see Jesus celebrating in heaven when he gets you. And he's like, Dad, I got another one. I got her. She was hurt and misused and she was so overlooked and she felt like no one could see her and no one would ever love her, but I got her. I've been chasing her for years and I finally got her. And I could see him desperate to reach your friend, to reach your coworker. I can see you frantic. Parents, you ever been at a park or a public place, a mall, an airport, and every parent knows this moment where you haven't seen your kid for just too long? Like you're like, where's my kid? It's been whatever that margin is at the park. I'll take them, they have a little park across the street from our house, and we'll go over there and play. Kids love it. But every few minutes, I need to 1, 2, 3, check, 1, 2, 3. I just checking my kids. There they are. Have you ever been somewhere and you go to check your kids, like, where? You go look and you're like, And have you ever looked long enough where all of a sudden your heart starts to sink? You know that moment? You're like, whoa, no, Nora. You're getting a little violent. Yeah. Nora. Yeah. Huh? Hey, Nora, there's you are. I was about to fight someone. Because they're your child. And 1, 2, 3. I'm doing it in my head all the time. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. My little Willow, she's popped in that little door frame about 3 minutes ago and stood there for 1 second, walked back out. If I see my kid, just check, there's my kid. No, why is she not in kids ministry? She escaped. Someone go find Willow. She's walking the halls. But she was right there just 3 minutes ago. I see my kids. There they are. Bang. And if there's a gap in my timeline, where are they? Where? I get it that there's things that we pray for and believe, and we want God to answer our prayers. That's good and that's meaningful, and He wants to do that because He loves you. He loves you so much. But there is a franticness because He still has children in the burning building. And He needs someone to get them. And He's trying to get us to care enough to go, use me. I'll go get one of them out of the building. I'll go reach my friend. I'll be the one that reaches my coworker. I'll be the one that reaches the barista that I talk to every single morning. I'll be the one that reaches, and when you bring that person to church with you, God goes, there she is. She's here, she's home. She's safe. She's gonna be okay. Because He's a Father that leaves the 99 for the one. And He did this for you. He did this for you. He loves you. He loves you. And this is in your salvation. So the next time you think, I don't know if anyone can love me, He left the 99 for you. And the next time you think, I'm just overlooked and I'm not smart enough and I'm not pretty enough and I'm not popular enough and I get enough stupid likes on my posts, He left for you. And when you came home, He went, she's home. I saw her, I found her, I got her. She's safe, she's loved, she's home. With every head bowed and with every eye closed.